These are the three effects we looked at before. The first effect, a disparity in profits. The Corte Inglés stops hiring or lays people off, but blast furnaces demand more workers. Which workers? Those who were working close to consumption. Gradually, they move from one sector to another. The second effect, the increase in saving pushes down the interest rate. It pushes up the price of capital goods. This is an essential sign telling us we must devote ourselves to producing apartments, factories, and we demand labour, which is freed up particularly by the companies close to consumption, because labour is now more expensive, among other reasons. The third effect, in real terms, wages rise when the price of consumer goods and services drops due to saving. These three microeconomic effects work in the same direction and indicate to entrepreneurs what they must do, and as a result, the productive structure becomes more and more vertical, more capital intensive. Look at the productive structure. What do we read in the last stage? What do consumer sales amount to? 75 units, because saving has increased. And how many stages are there? In the original productive structure there were 5 stages. Now there are 7, because 2 new stages have emerged at the lower interest rate. What was the interest rate in the previous productive structure? 11%, right? Now look to the right. How far did the interest rate fall? It fell to 1.7%, because there is much more saving. To get a clear visual idea, we will superimpose the productive structure prior to the increase in saving and the productive structure following the increase in saving. The original structure is shown with lines, and the other is shown with bars. As you can see, because people have consumed less in monetary terms, the consumption stage and the stages closest to it have narrowed. However, the 4th and 5th stages have widened, and most importantly, 2 new stages, which did not exist before, have emerged. In the past, these were not profitable, but they were part of the project as entrepreneurs had imagined it. Now, with the interest rate as low as it is, these stages, which will mature in the form of a product in 6 or 7 years, begin to be profitable and are undertaken. These 2 stages, more distant from consumption, did not exist before. As a result, the productive structure has become narrower and more vertical. The percentage represented by net income spent on consumption is lower. Before, it was 100 over 370. Now, it is 75 over 370. The income which changes hands is the same, but the amount devoted to consumption is much smaller. In India, a very poor country, most of the income which changes hands is spent on consumption. In Switzerland, most of the income which changes hands is spent on the stages distant from consumption, and thus these countries are much wealthier. An increase in saving means people spend less today on consumption, but that saving is used to finance investment projects which are more capital intensive and complex, take more stages to complete, and when they mature will give rise to a huge increase in the quantity and quality of consumer goods produced. 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, better and much more plentiful consumer goods will reach the market. And what is more, they will meet with a monetary demand that has dropped to 75 units. What will happen to the monetary price of consumer goods if in 3 or 4 years better goods in much greater quantities reach the market and demand has fallen to 75 units? If there is a much larger supply and a smaller demand, the monetary price of consumer goods will tend to fall. Everyone will have about the same income, yet prices will be lower and lower. Our wealth and economic development will increase more and more. Cars, washing machines, recreation, etc. Compare that with the Spain of 40 years ago, or with India or Haiti, where people harvest by hand and are very poor as a result. They lack capital goods because they have not saved. The secret to economic development is not consumption, but saving. Therefore, dear students, we have arrived at the theoretical solution to the so-called paradox of thrift. Keynesian economists claim that nothing is worse for the economy than saving. They say that if people save, consumption decreases, and since such economists view consumption as the most important part of GDP, because they eliminate at one stroke all intermediate stages, they think that whatever affects consumption automatically affects the entire economy. These economists ignore the time dimension of the production process. If consumption drops and sales slump at the Corte Inglés, They think the whole economy is on the road to ruin. This is a very grave error. If consumption falls due to a rise in saving, the Corte Inglés will suffer, but we have just demonstrated the three effects by which all stages distant from consumption will benefit in relative terms, and most of us work in those stages. Thus, the paradox of thrift is false. It says, at the level of the individual, saving is good, but at the level of society, there is nothing worse than saving. This is a tremendous error. What is good at the level of the individual is also good at the level of society, as we have demonstrated. We have shown the three microeconomic effects which cause an increase in saving to materialize in the form of an increasingly long and fruitful structure of production, which permits a sustainable increase in everyone's well-being.